welcome you warmly to the celebrations of the National Day of the Republic of Poland. On this day, we commemorate the 225th anniversary of adoption of the Constitution of May 3rd, the first written constitution in modern Europe and the second in the world after the American one. The Polish Constitution of 3rd May 1791 drew inspiration from the European Enlightenment and the American Constitution of 1787. Creators of the Polish Constitution recognized that the government must serve the good of the whole nation. This year we also celebrate another constitutive for the Polish statehood anniversary, 1050 years from adoption of Christianity by Poland. In 966, the Slavic prince Mieszko was baptized. By this act, Polish joined the rank of established European states recognized by the papacy and the Holy Roman Empire. From this perspective, the baptism of Poland marks the beginning of Polish statehood. Seizing this opportunity, I would also like to emphasize that today, the 2nd of May, we also celebrate the Day of the Polish Diaspora and all the Poles abroad. So I am convening my best wishes to all of my compatriots gathered here on the occasion of this day. Proszę przyjąć życzenia zdrowia, pomyślności oraz wielu sukcesów w życiu zawodowym i osobistym. Thank you for your attention and have a wonderful night.
It is now my pleasure to invite the Honorable David Pawlowski to address us.
Well, Your Excellency, Consul General for Poland, Mrs. Regina Yakowski, my parliamentary colleague, Ms. Atchison, representing the Leader of the Opposition in New South Wales, distinguished members of the diplomatic corps, and dear friends in the Polish-Australian community, can I say it's a great honour and joy to be here tonight, representing the Honourable Mike Baird, Premier of the State of New South Wales, and also to represent the Honourable John Ajarko, Minister for Multiculturalism. The Poles fought for freedom, they defended their freedom, and then they fought for freedom. And then for 45 years, they suffered under communism and under the boot of the Soviet Union. But they were never really conquered, they were never really destroyed, they never gave up their Christian faith, they had never, in 1,000 years, they had never deserted God, and at the end of the day, God did not desert the Polish people. And so when communism fell, Providence and God divined that it would start in Poland. That's where the collapse and the defeat of communism, this greatest menace to all of mankind, the greatest menace that it has ever faced in all of civilization, that is where that resistance started. It started in the shipyards of Gdansk. It started with a man called Lech Walesa. It started with a trade union called Solidarity, and Providence especially sent a great man, a Polish Pope for the first time in history, Pope John Paul II, who gave unity and strength to the Polish people in their resistance. What a great man of history that man was. So the people of Poland are a people cast in a hero's mould. They gave heart to others in the world. So from what happened at Gdansk, that peaceful revolt, that peaceful uprising of peoples throughout Central and Eastern Europe, and in Russia itself, rose up against communism. And what a miracle of our times it was that the communism was defeated in Europe largely through peaceful means, largely without loss of life. That is something that is recorded in history. Than those Poles who were there through those years, and never were there better Australians than the members of the Polish-Australian community, and I think some of them are here today, and what a blessing that they have been granted life to see their country finally freed after 45 years of communism. So God bless Poland and the Polish people, now a free nation amongst other free nations. Nazism is gone and communism is gone, but a free Poland is alive among free nations throughout the world, and may it forever be a free nation. Long live Poland and long live Australia. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to inform you that in gratitude for merits to the Polish culture, the Minister of Culture and National Heritage of the Republic of Poland awarded the Decoration of Honor, meritorious for Polish culture, to Mr. Simon Target.
Thank you very, very much, Consul Jurkowska, for this truly great honour. Regina, you do a fantastic job in Australia. You really do, supporting Poland. You do it with such elegance and intelligence, and it's a lot, and you do it while looking after your young family a long way from your home. Thank you. There is another very clever Polish woman that I have to thank, and that would be my wife. She should be getting a medal for putting up with me, and for taking me on adventures in Poland that have truly changed my life. I'm not Polish. I was born in England. My mother was an Australian landscape painter, and my father a British colonial diplomat. He was posted to exotic places like Zanzibar and the Seychelles, but he never saw Poland. I do have a French ancestor who was military governor in Warsaw in Napoleon's time. Jean-François Target is buried in Wrocław, about 100 kilometres from where my wife was born. I think there's a romantic time travel TV series in that somewhere. When I grew up in England, Poland was part of the Soviet bloc, and we knew very little about it. There weren't Poles all over London like they are today. I thought Poland was a distant, rather grey and unfriendly place that I was never likely to visit. Well, as the English say, ha bloody ha. Next thing, I'd fallen in love with this beautiful Polish woman here in Sydney. Beata and I travelled to a newly free Poland to meet her long-lost family and friends. Her mates immediately christened me Szymon, and I think that first trip we ate and drank for 3 days without sleeping. People emptied their fridges for us, then emptied their neighbours' fridges. I realised Poland is in fact a very friendly place to visit, and it certainly isn't grey. One day Beata decided she was going to write a big colourful memoir about her childhood in Poland, full of her grandmother's recipes, and she wanted me to drive around Poland with her and photograph it. The only problem was we had to stop the car every 200 metres. There was just so much to see. There'd be a 19th century palace with a moat and a boat on it, or a stalk on the roof of a church, and inside the church we'd find incredible Baroque frescoes or a beautiful organ Bach himself could have played. Beata showed me galleries full of Wiśniewski and Młoda Polska painters, artists I'd never heard of despite my degree from Cambridge University. She bought me CDs of Górecki and Szymanowski. We drove to Chopin's birthplace in Żelazowa, and at night I read Pan Tadeusz, beautifully translated, the best translation I think there is, by Australian Marcel Wayland. We saw where Copernicus was born and Marie Skłodowska-Curie studied. We sat on the grass in the Mazurka Park and read Szymborska, the Polish Nobel Prize-winning poet. We now give all our friends Szymborska poems for Christmas and birthdays. Sometimes I have to ring up first to make sure we didn't give it to them last year as well. If you haven't been to Poland, you should know there are some truly wonderful hotels to go stay in. You can get a suite in the castle in Łagów, for example, with not one, but 2 huge log fires in your rooms, for about the price of a Canberra motel. You can even stay in Wandsworth Castle, and I think this is a bit like the equivalent of checking into Buckingham Palace. Only problem is that Isabella Lubomierska, who built the place in the Baroque time, is still there. Her ghost is said to walk the corridors at night in a blue dress. We were the only guests in the castle one December night, and we did indeed hear some strange noises after dark. I bravely opted to stay in bed with the door locked rather than going to investigate, as my wife asked. Beata walked me along the beach in Międzyzdroje, through the gardens of Kornik, and to the top of Śnieżka in her beloved Karkonosze Mountains. In Kozłówka, former home of the Zamoyski family, I recorded a wonderful collection of European clocks, all chiming together. When I went on TV in Warsaw, I've got the pages one way around. When I went on TV in Warsaw, the journalist who interviewed me said, "I love your pictures of Poland, Simon, but this is not Poland." I began to realise that I was photographing a Poland, or discovering a Poland that many Poles didn't see, or didn't see quite that way. I also photographed the oldest and most beautiful synagogues in the world, in places like Dutkiewicz and Zamość. I never realised that before the birth of Israel, Poland was the centre of the Jewish world. Hasidism was born in Kazimierz, and Moses Isserles, the great Talmudic scholar, lived and taught there. You can still visit his wonderful Remor synagogue, built over 400 years ago. Before the war, not just millions of Jews in Poland, but many Armenians, Roma, Belarusians, Ukrainians, German Protestants, Russian Orthodox, even a small Muslim population. The truth is, Poland has a long history of religious tolerance. Not only was the constitution the first of its kind in Europe, but you could say the country pioneered multiculturalism. But it's the informality of Poland that I truly love. As soon as we drive across the border into Poland, I kind of breathe out and relax. You know, they let the grass grow there. There are wild flowers everywhere in summer. Kids sit by the road and sell you berries they picked in the woods. Everybody makes their own bootleg liquor out of cherries and apples. Smoking fish and sausage in your backyard is a kind of national pastime. Pickling wild mushrooms. Every single cellar in Poland has a jar of pickled mushrooms about to explode. You can tell the Poles romanticize the outdoors by the amount of words they have to describe their landscape. One of the first Polish words Beata taught me was szumi, meaning the sound of wind blowing in the trees. They even have a word which means moonlight shining on the water, poświata. Now, Shakespeare would have liked an English word like that. Sure, they have all the big supermarket chains in Poland now and some very fancy restaurants, but I prefer to shop in country towns where you can buy seasonal fruit and veg that was pulled out of the ground that very morning. There are dangers in this though. I asked an old guy in the market if he had any plums. "Na drzewie," he said. Pointing behind me. That means on the tree. It was June, and I'd forgotten plums aren't ripe until August. So last year we were in Poland to screen my film in Josztek. This is the story of how a Jewish professor from England rebuilt an abandoned cemetery in the town where his grandfather was born, an abandoned Jewish cemetery. And he had the support of the town's Catholic priest, the mayor, and the Catholic population. The film had screened in Chicago and Warsaw, even in the synagogue in Auschwitz, but never in Josztek itself. The night before we were due to be there, Beata checked the copy of the film which we had brought from Australia and found a problem. The Polish subtitles were full of mistakes. Now, this was entirely my fault. I had changed the film and redone the subtitles myself and added in some spelling mistakes. Beata pointed out that instead of writing the word occupy in Polish, I'd actually typed the word for rabbit. That's zając instead of zając. Basically, she said, there's no way she was driving 5 hours to Josztek in the morning unless I fixed those embarrassing subtitles. The problem was we were in our little place in a small village in Poland. It was already late afternoon. All I had was my laptop and the film on a USB. After an hour or two of struggling on my computer, the artist said, "Let me call Asha." I said, "What is Asha going to do? Look, I know she's your friend and she's very nice and everything, but she knows nothing about making films. I can do this." So another hour goes by and I still can't get to work. The artist says, "I just spoke to Asha. She wants us to go see Marek." So we go see Marek, some guy in a room above a garage who does wedding videos. Clearly, this isn't going to work. I try to explain, it's very kind of him to help, but his computer is a PC, mine's a Mac, the original footage is in Sydney, we're in Poland, I use Premiere Pro, he uses Final Cut. What's more, by now my laptop is dead and nobody has a Mac charger. I am literally heading out of the door when Marek calls out, "Szymon, nie ma problemu." That's Polish, but no worries, mate. He says, "Go home and write your speech." I went home expecting disaster. When we came back first thing next morning, Marek had not only fixed 400 subtitles perfectly, and made 3 Blu-ray copies of the film, each with a little picture of Jostek on it, he'd also made us coffee and pancakes for breakfast. Polish men, I have learned, can fix almost anything, usually at half the cost, with some workaround patch they just found on the internet. They can also be very gallant, opening doors, kissing hands, wrestling wolves, etc. This can be a bit intimidating for non-Poles like me, especially as Polish women all look like models and tend to have degrees in astrophysics. My wife knows the best way to wind me up is to say, "Oh, if only I had a Polish husband." Next time she tries that one, I'm going to show her my medal. I have learned that marriage to a Pole is quite straightforward, as long as you remember one important thing. Never try to tell a Pole what to do. I once asked the historian Norman Davis why he thinks so many Poles risked their lives to hide Jews during World War II, in barns and attics and churches across the country. The Nazis made it quite clear, don't help Jews or we'll shoot you, your children and your parents. I'm not sure I would have risked it. Norman Davis explained there was an obstinate element among the Poles that simply didn't like being told what to do, even by the Gestapo. I think that explains a lot. Tomorrow is the anniversary of Poland's famous 3rd May Constitution. I think it's the wish of every person who loves Poland, like me, to see it continue democratic and free according to that progressive and pioneering document. Poland, as you know, has been at times invaded, occupied, partitioned, annexed, and administered by outsiders. Well, not anymore. Despite all the troubles and dramatic geopolitical changes in Europe, Poland leads the way today, prospering and growing while keeping its very special character, democratic principles, religious tolerance, and human rights, and continuing to treat non-Poles like me with great kindness and generosity. Thank you so very much.
Artur Dutkiewicz is often referred to as the ambassador of Polish jazz. In the last few years, he has performed in over 30 countries around the world. His music career spans over 30 years. He performed several recitals and opened the Artur Dutkiewicz Trio. In 2011, Artur Dutkiewicz performed at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin during the World Cultural Festival. Especially for this event, he arranged and played a piece for 30 pianos with pianists from around the world. The concert, attended by 35,000 people, was an expression of respect for the diversity of cultures and the message of peace to the world. Artur Dutkiewicz will present today, amongst others, his own contemporary jazz Mazurka from his latest album, Mazurka. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Artur Dutkiewicz.